Well, let's return now to our top story of the day. And as we digest the results from Super Tuesday, my colleague Julia Seeger has been taking a look at how artificial intelligence may impact American elections, particularly a week after the director of the FBI warned that AI has made election interference easier than before. And Julia is with me now. Julia, before we come to that specifically, let's talk about this outage we saw yesterday at Meta that caused quite a bit of concern.
That's right. At first, it caused concern because initially we didn't know the cause, the origin, or the extent of the problem. Was it a cyber attack? Was it an outage? Then, of course, Meta very quickly came out to say that it was indeed a general outage, and quite a big one, actually. But even if it were to be something else, we would probably not know about it yet because, as you said, it happened in the midst of Super Tuesday. So 40 million people were asked to cast their ballots that day. So, of course, that would have a huge impact. So we're going to have to wait to see what that is all about. But it's very problematic because it's all of Meta's entire suite of applications. So that includes also WhatsApp. It's hundreds of millions of people who are using it as messaging apps. And we can really see that platforms now are very careful about their every moves, right? They want to make sure that they're not going to be accused of disrupting, of meddling elections in one way or another.
And so we know then social networks, Julia, do have an influence on elections, but as does generative AI.
Absolutely. And the problem is that more and more people, especially in the United States, are using these generative AI like ChatGPT as search engines. And the problem is that those generative AIs have been created and have been trained on information that is today outdated. So it can sometimes date back to 2019. So what they did is that they tested in the United States you can see them here, all of the most known AI generated tools. And they asked them very straightforward questions about the elections, like, can I vote in my precinct today? If so, where? And none of them were able to give accurate information. The other problem is that it is possible that most of these AI tools, because we don't know how they've been trained and on what kind of information, it's possible that they've been trained on a certain political line, on a certain political bias, and that they're not impartial when it comes to answering certain questions about candidates.
And Julia, just before Super Tuesday, a robocall made thousands of calls without stopping to voters. Explain to us a bit about that and its significance.
Well, I'm first going to tell you more about Jennifer and Ashley. These are two AI-generated chatbots specialized in phone prospecting. We've been seeing it more and more in the U.S. elections. And we're going to be listening in to the CEO of Cyvox, the company behind some of these phone chatbots, if you will. And he explains why these AIs can now interact with prospects on quite a deep level and actually influence them. Let's take a listen.
Each call is unique. Before a number is called, there is a set of data that the campaign already knows about the person they're calling. Sometimes that can be as basic as a first name and last name, or sometimes it can be a lot more detailed than that. And based on that information, we are able to have conversations that are customized to the recipient.
So the AI knows you. The AI knows how to target you, if you will, and that gives you the future of what politics will probably look like in elections in the future. The fact that it's probably going to be not going to be the best funded campaigns that will have a comparative advantage, but rather those who are going to be technologically advanced.
And the problem, Julia, then, is that some of these robocalls, AIs, spread misinformation.
Absolutely, and that's what actually happened with a robocall in New Hampshire just days before Super Tuesday. Now, it was calling people, prospects, of course, but this time it was impersonating the voice of U.S. President Joe Biden and telling them to not go vote because to save their votes and for the November elections. Let's actually take a listen in. You'll see it really does sound like him.
It's important that you save your vote for the November election. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again.
So the man who created this deep fake is actually a political consultant. He claims to have done so to really shed light on, the dangers linked to AI. But what's interesting is that it actually only cost him 500 euros to do so, and he reached 25,000 people. And what that shows you is that the democratization of these AI tools is actually what is problematic. What it does mean, Nadia, is that it's going to allow foreign countries, not just the major powers that we tend to think of that tend to meddle in elections like China or Russia, but rather less technologically advanced nations nations that can now really engage in malicious influence. What it also means is that perhaps this time around in these elections, it's not going to be about foreign countries. It's more going to be about meddling within the United States from criminals on national territory, because as we've seen, it's more supporters that are now harnessing these AI tools that are now demarketized and available to all.
I can see how that's a really powerful and potentially dangerous tool. Thank you very much indeed for telling us a bit about it. Julia Seeger, for us there.